Hello there, this is Jamjam. I'm IG and Jamshi. You may have seen me around. You probably haven't because I'm pretty low-key. I am taking inspiration from one of Aaron's video or Ari's video and just want to share my personal thoughts on some things and some aspects of the game. Some tips for newbies starting off the game. If you have been looking and researching, you will have seen guides telling you to reroll for an Aussie. You may feel like, oh, you must have an Aussie to do really great in the game. That may not be the case. For me, when I started, I went with the flow. I didn't reroll, I did not do any research, that's bad on my part, but it did not prevent me from enjoying the game and trying my hardest with whatever I managed to get. After playing for 2 months or more, I finally rolled for my Aussie. It was random and I just randomly got it and then I worked with it. But during these past 2 months it didn't make me any less of a player just because I didn't have an Aussie the whole time. Some people might re-roll for 2 weeks and finally get their dream Aussie, and they finally start playing and realize, whoa, this game is crap, or this gameplay is horrible, I hate this community, and anything that they don't like, which made them quit the game basically after a few days of playing, and they spent all that time re-rolling for an Aussie. So my take on it is, research into the game, decide whether you really do like the game before you go into re-rolling. Having an Aussie is a great asset to your character, but it is not the end of the world. So good luck, and don't let that get you down. Let's talk about power rank next. Power rank is something that you see in people's names when you press details. It shows you what rank they are in the global community. Being in the top 100 may seem amazing. Sometimes you have newbies coming up to you and being all like, oh wow, I'm in the top 100. I'm OP, you have to accept me into these parties for these awesome bosses now. That's not the case, guys. Power rank depends on your total power, and your total power depends on the equipment that you have in your slots. They don't take into account what your performance is inside a battle. So you may have 600,000 TP, but you attack less than a 300,000 player. That is because of rotations and the effects of the equipments they have in their main slots and the stacking effects of them. So don't be too overjoyed or too stuck on the thought of having a great power rank or total power, because that means nothing, guys. No offense to the top ones, of course it means something in some sense, but generally it doesn't. Now some tips or some comments for people who feel like they have played the game for a while. They're not newbies anymore, but they don't like the aspect of leeching from newbie players. If you don't like other newbie players to leech off of you, find your own party and go into a new room. When you were a newbie, you would have leeched off somebody else's battle. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have passed a particular quest. That was definitely the case for me. If it wasn't for those guys not quitting on me, just letting me leech and taking me with them, I wouldn't have played for so long. I would have just quit the game because I don't know what the hell I was doing. So just remember that you need to help some of these newbies for the first few quests so they can get a move on and improve. One big huge aspect of the game you have to make use of, in my opinion, is the group function. The game has many groups that you could simply create and invite and spam invites to everyone you see. The reason why groups are amazing is because it expands your circle, it connects you with people that are of all levels. They may have lots of different knowledge, you may have knowledge that you could share with them, and overall you would benefit each other. Not only that, making parties with these people makes your life so much easier in the game. So I highly recommend getting as many people together or getting as many groups as you can. Obviously so, you have to think critically about what these people advise of you or what you advise of them, because sometimes opinions vary and you need a little research and a little critical thinking before you can believe absolutely their advice or give your own advice. But totally make use of groups, make friends, and it would make your playtime so much happier. Last thing I want to talk about is clans. Clan maintenance. What makes a good clan? In my books, of course. I have a clan called Abortion. You can read it as abortion. You can read it as abortion, even though that's wrong, but it's okay. I don't mind. I started the clan when clans didn't really matter. Only the name above your own name mattered. It may look cool to you, some people use symbols, and some people make it look really cute, and that's the only positive point of having a clan. It wasn't until clan trials and the clan events started that you really had to look for players that fit your own agenda. I mean, before I've been doing it, but it wasn't then that I really seriously started looking. I know earlier I said TP and PR doesn't mean anything, but because in the first clan event we had to get together a total clan power of 4 million, I think it was. 4 million total clan power, and to reach that everyone had to have at least 330k, so that was when I had to look for people who were in that range. But you can't just go around randomly looking for people with that TP. As I said, TP doesn't mean anything. So I started interviewing people. The interviews may have seemed long and quite tedious to some, but I guess they found it quite challenging and they enjoyed the process. Or at least I hope they enjoyed the process. They stayed with me anyway. So yeah, the interview questions that I were asking basically consisted of questions like how active you are, how long do you play a day, when their time zone is. Time zone at the time wasn't a huge thing in my mind, and that's because I was being a dummy. But I mean, before I already recruited people, they were in New Zealand or they were in the US, and they had at least like 16 to 18 hour differences between them. And that never occurred to me until clan trials came about and I started really interviewing people. But knowing their time zone is great because you can organize things easier that way. Another question I had to make sure to ask was whether they had beaten a certain boss. At that time the boss was Naga. Naga was a particularly hard boss to beat, but I won't go into why. So I would ask this question and I would get replies like, no, I give up, I can't do anything with it, or just looking for some party to leech and hopefully get it done. Now these two answers were, in my books, crap. It was utter crap. You're not playing the game, you're not trying to problem solve anything, you're just going, oh hey, I'll just like skip this content and not improve my own characters. Having a heart like that is not good in my books, so I would have basically immediately just written them off. But I still managed to find people who had the heart, at least if they had tried to gather the right medals and the equipments, and even though they may not have beaten it in the end, they still tried. It means that they have that determination there and they have that heart there to try in the game. So you can depend on them to try with you for future bosses or whatever, and that's what makes a good teammate. Interviewing people also gives you a chance to have a chat with them. Having a chat means you can find out whether their personality and their way of thinking and speaking were on the same channel as you. Being on the same channel is very important because you don't want people clashing and you don't want it to split the clan and you don't want to deal with little pieces of crap, but it happens. Luckily for me, so I managed to find 11 of these people who are just amazing. My clan's amazing, guys. They stuck with me for so long, and everyone's been doing great at their own jobs. They are active, they are up to date with the content, they make sure to research and do the best they can for their own main characters. And that's basically all you can ask. One last thing, you have to make sure these guys are willing to communicate out with the game. Some people use Line chat, some people use Discord. We use Discord. What is great is that having this platform on outside the game means that you can find these people and communicate with them without having to go in game and just be like, oh, they're not on, what should we do? We have to get everyone together for clan trials. You won't have that problem. And you can also have a great banter that's completely unrelated to the game, and it's great because you get to know them, you get to bond, and you get to strengthen your team spirits. Call me cheesy or whatever, but that's very, very important. And an extra great point is if your clannies are willing to voice chat. I am so lucky that all my clannies are willing to voice chat, and we have all been on together before. It is a great feeling, it is a completely different experience from what you will have by just typing in the game. It's so different, but it's so amazing at the same time, so you definitely have to try it if you can. Right, so the time zone point, it's a huge important matter for a lot of clans because for obvious reasons, you want everyone to be free at the same time to do the clan trials, and it's not easy maneuvering 12 different people to be on at the same time. For us, even though we have people from New Zealand, the US and the UK, we are so far apart, time zone wise, but we still managed, through our own lifestyles, to gather everyone for a few hours every night for the clan trials. And because everyone was willing to cooperate and everyone was willing to try their best to make it, it worked out really, really well. So some final thoughts on the game. Give it a try, be nice, be a normal human being, be a troll if you want, if I don't care actually, just don't be a douche. Be a douche if you want, but like, no one's gonna like you. Make use of groups and don't be afraid to make friends and speak to people, because what the hell do you have to lose? And if you want a good clan, try and gather people who are on the same channel as you. You want people to get along. I am truly grateful for my clan. Cheesy, I know, but like, I'm a total fangirl when it comes to them, so a little shout out. Thanks guys!